We make USAA insurance for veterans like Liz and Mike when they got a bigger car for their soon-to-be bigger family. USAA helped them get covered and find savings.
That was the easy part.
USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Coors Light. These days, everything is go, go, go. It's nonstop hustle all the time. Work, friends, family, expect you to be on 24/7. Well, sometimes you just need to reach for a Coors Light because it's made to chill. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged. It's as crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. It is literally made to chill. Coors Light is the one I choose when I need to unwind. So when you want to hit reset, reach for the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light in the new look delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
How's it going, everyone? This is Tyler Dunn with the Go Long newsletter at golongtd.com. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast, which is brought to you by Hamburg Brewing. Be sure to stop on by, drink some Hoptimonium, drink some Louis, a lot of great beers on tap as the weather changes and as the world opens up a little bit out of this pandemic. So can't thank them enough for supporting our podcast, and can't thank you enough for listening to our podcast. Be sure to rate and review wherever you listen to your podcast. Today with Jim, we take a look at all of these quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and I think you'll love Jim's perspective. He's been watching these guys more than anybody, breaking the film down, and really kind of breaks down the pros and cons of each of those top 5 quarterbacks in light of the 2 massive trades that we just saw with San Francisco, Carolina, Miami. All of these teams kind of choosing their path at quarterback. Now they got some decisions to make in the draft. So I think you'll enjoy it. Let us know what you think. And reach out anytime on Twitter at Ty Dunn or for Jim at JimMonis42. Thanks so much.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis for another episode of the Go Long podcast. Jim, it's been too long. I know a couple loyal podcast listeners have kind of been on my case here the last few. Rightfully so. Just kind of getting down here to North Carolina, hanging with family, little mini vacation, but we're making it happen. We're making it happen through the miracles of Zoom.
You need a vacation from your Friday happy hours. I mean, you've been putting out some pretty big guests, some good content. So hey, you got to get your time away with your family a little bit. And I know you're still studying film and talking to people, and just like I'm doing. So let's get at it and let's break this quarterback craziness down.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, you're always on. You're always on. I'm sure it's like that. It's like that for you now. I mean, you've been studying these prospects, as much, if not more, than all of the personnel guys running the show for NFL teams. So I'm really pumped for this episode. So just so everybody knows, we're going to get into all of the quarterbacks, to the top quarterbacks that are in discussion, at the top of the first round there with Jim Monis, who has been in that draft room with the Saints, with the Eagles, with the Bills. You've made these decisions. You've agonized over these decisions, Jim, and it's pretty wild. I mean, I think it's more out of necessity and teams just needing quarterbacks in the worst way. But you see, a lot of quarterbacks going bang, 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 bang in all these mocks. But I don't think that's reflective of this being some historic draft class at the position. I could be wrong, but it's more out of teams just needing a quarterback, wanting to go all in on a guy, stay kind of like stick that flag, on the moon. Hey, this is our guy. This is what we're doing. Then maybe these guys being historic. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I want to hear what you have to say on all 5 at the top.
Well, Tyler, what's funny to me is this whole podcast that we started off of Patrick Mahomes, and I think where it's led to, and I hope people understand is. And I think a lot of people in the NFL are starting to really understand this, but the whole NFL is about the quarterback.
Yeah.
And you're realizing if you don't have one, you really don't have a chance. And we've talked so much about Josh Allen making his step this year. To be honest, I know that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott get a lot of credit in Buffalo, but at the same time, if Josh Allen played like he did his first 2 years, this conversation we're having tonight isn't about, it's where are the Bills picking and are Beane and McDermott good enough and should they be fired? And it's really that simple. Is they hit on Josh Allen, so now we just anoint them as, they know everything. And they've had misses in the draft, and we've talked about that, especially on defense. But it goes to show you that the quarterback makes everything better, no matter what. And you see these teams trading up, and Jets getting rid of Darnold, Niners coming up to get their guy. And it's just fascinating to see, that these GMs are now, and head coaches, everybody knows it. They're not faking it anymore, is you've got to get a quarterback.
If you don't have one, you better get one. I guess that's what I'm getting at. If you don't have one of those top 6 or 7 quarterbacks, you're hunting for one. And I don't care what Kyle Shanahan says about Jimmy Garoppolo at a press conference. He wants his guy, and that's why they just traded a boatload of picks to move up to 3. I mean, we should start with the trades if you want to start there.
But to your point, Jared Goff and Garoppolo were starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Right. Not good enough. Not good enough. Think about that. Those teams don't want them. So, that can be, it's they know better than anybody, the people that are inside, and they probably felt like their team was better than their quarterback. Maybe they got to the Super Bowl, they had a good quarterback, but not an elite, and they feel like they have to go get one. So the Rams go get Stafford. Now the 49ers are coming up, and everybody says it's Mac Jones, and let's get into it because let's just start. I think the easiest way for me to do this would be, obviously, let's start with Trevor Lawrence. We know he's going number 1. I don't know how much you've seen of him, Tyler, but, everything I've watched, he certainly is pure. I don't think this guy's a generational, never seen before quarterback. You can't sit there and watch him and say he's better than Mahomes coming out when you see his throws that he makes, or Deshaun. I mean, he's very talented for sure, but let's not kid ourselves. He needs development as well. He takes a lot of hard hits. He does make some bad decisions, in an offense that isn't asking him to do a whole lot after that first read. What he can do is make every throw and make it look easy. And some of the throws he makes, they're special, and he does have that in him. And you just love his toughness and his energy, the way he plays the game, I love. And his release is quick. He gets the ball out right on time, right on guys' shoulders. But I just feel like he's the best in this draft. But I do think he needs, it's going to take some time. He's going to see some things he hasn't seen before in the NFL. And it's going to be really cool to see how, especially with Urban Meyer's offense in Jacksonville, how he and Urban and all that's going to be a fascinating story. I don't think it's as easy as just draft Trevor and we're going to be good. I don't think it's like that for him.
That's a fascinating point, Jim, because that's what we're hearing ad nauseum right now, right? Every network, every article, every mock draft, every ranking, that's the one sure thing, that Trevor Lawrence is maybe the best prospect of a generation, if not second to Andrew Luck, that there's nothing wrong with him at all, that he's perfect, that he's, Peyton Manning with athleticism. That's what you hear right now everywhere. What you just said, Jim, I haven't heard anywhere.
Well, it's shocking to me that you can watch him and not see some flaws in his game with some of the forces he makes. And obviously they're a loaded team all around him, and you don't want to take that away from him. But he does have games where you shake your head a little bit on some of his throws and interceptions. He does force the ball, and I still look at him and say, wow, there's nothing he can't do. I mean, he is athletic. Yeah. He is pure passing the ball. I mean, everything says he should be good. And I do think he's the best in this class. Do I think he's, can I sit there and say it's a can't miss? No, you can't say that on him. But you certainly would take your chance on him, that's for sure. And I think Jacksonville's doing the right thing. I do. I love watching him. I do. I'm just trying to point out, I think there are things you have to study sometimes. And especially when you're watching these quarterbacks in college, really try to study the throws that are NFL type throws. The throws that not everybody makes, the throws that maybe they're making or their coaches are asking them to make that other college guys wouldn't even be asked to make because they can't do it. And Trevor does that. You do see NFL throws. You see those hole shots down the sideline where he's just rifle, boom, right in the chest, in between coverage. He does that. But it's just, there are things you see with him where he's not perfect, and nobody is. But I think the marriage between he and Urban Meyer's offense is what I can't wait to see. Because to be honest, you know, scouting Florida all the years I did, and then even Ohio State with Urban Meyer, he's never had a quarterback this pure.
Yeah.
He really has it that can throw like this and move around and do all the things you want to do. So I think that's going to be the fascinating thing to see how they really gel and come together.
Well, I guess we'll look past, you know, you besmirching Tim Tebow in such a fashion. I mean, I'm fighting like hell to make this a Tebow-friendly podcast, and, you know, you have to keep dragging his name through the muck and the mud.
Can't drag it. You got to respect him and everything he did. Can't drag it and respect it. But, you know, there's a cutoff between being a great college quarterback or a system quarterback and a difference maker as a franchise quarterback.
Man, well, that's a great point. I mean, yeah, you would take him number one. I think that's pretty obvious here. And I guess to answer your initial question, like, my exposure to Trevor Lawrence was kind of like everybody else's in the nationally televised games. And, you know, he's been playing in championships every year, obviously. But we actually took like a father-son trip out to Syracuse for a little homecoming game a couple years back. That was fun. Like with my brother-in-law, my dad, and we want to make it a tradition. You know, obviously COVID kind of threw a wrench into those plans this year. But, you know, by the time kickoff rolled around, we were kind of hazy, you know, but we did, you know, there are some memories that stick from Trevor Lawrence that night from the top row at the Carrier Dome. To your point, I think that game, people can look it up. I don't have it right in front of me. You know, Syracuse is Syracuse. You know, there's a below 500 team. But Lawrence's final numbers were, you know, phenomenal. They ended up blowing him out. But early on, he had a couple turnovers. It was a little rocky. I remember at one point thinking, this is the can't miss guy. I think that to your point, it's kind of like that. There's here and there, there's just a play, kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. And you're probably having the same thoughts that you had back when you're looking at Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. You know, with Watson in that offense, you know, how does that transfer over to the NFL? I mean, some of these guys are just so damn good. Of course you'll tear up your playbook for them, right? I mean, I imagine that's what Jacksonville and Urban Meyer are going to do. They're just going to do whatever Trevor Lawrence wants to do and just try to make it work.
I think that's right by them. I mean, if they're going to put their faith in him like that, and obviously he has shown everything you want to see in a franchise quarterback. And I really think there's three guys that I feel confident that really should be the guy in the NFL. You know, you're number one. Trevor's one of them, and we'll get into these other guys. But to your point, I don't think all these guys are going to be, you know, incredible quarterbacks in the NFL. The history says that's not going to happen. But when you look at Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and to me, Justin Fields, it's hard to pick holes in their games. I mean, on a college level, what you're evaluating and everything you want to see in a quarterback, whether it's decision-making, footwork, toughness, arm strength, accuracy, elevating your team to the next level, those three all do that. They really are very special, gifted, talented guys. And I think, and I don't know, you know, I know there's been a lot of talk with Fields right now that stuff's crazy to me, but we'll try to stick to we'll go through the rankings. But, you know, you see Lawrence, and obviously now what the Jets have done, and we can get into that right now because obviously they're taking Zach Wilson from BYU. Everybody's been saying it, made the move, get Darnold out of there. I like that move for Carolina. I thought it was a really good move. I've seen enough good plays from Sam Darnold and good games from Sam Darnold that there is something there for sure. You know, Sam Darnold's his own worst enemy, whether you want to blame Adam Gase and the coaches or the talent around him. He does turn the ball over too much. He does make very questionable decisions, and he did that at USC as well. So is that going to change in Carolina? Well, they're hoping it does. But having Christian McCaffrey and the receivers that they have on that team, Sam Darnold has every shot to succeed for the first time, I think, in the NFL. And so I thought that was a nice move for Carolina. Hey, Jets, they want to move on from him. Fair enough. Joe Douglas, the GM, didn't draft Sam Darnold. He came in after that. So now he gets his guy, Zach Wilson. And when you watch Zach Wilson, you see everything you want to see: athleticism, arm strength, playmaking ability. The question I have playing at BYU is he played behind a really good college offensive line and didn't really face a lot of pressure. He wasn't having guys coming at his face. He didn't have to make those throws under duress that you want to see quarterbacks make. And I think for him, that's going to be his biggest challenge in the NFL, is how is he going to handle the blitzes and the pressure that he's going to see, and how quick of a decision maker is he going to be to get rid of the ball. But as far as the physical skill set, Zach Wilson is gifted.
Let's dig into that trade and that prospect then. Yep. I mean, had the same thoughts as you, Jim, with Sam Darnold. You know, going back to your point on making NFL throws, I mean, he just made those difficult type of throws on difficult type of routes at USC, and he still did it with the Jets. You know, I know, like, a guy throws over 1,000 passes like he has. You could say we've seen enough. You know, he's not good. He's not what everybody thought. But I tend to do a lot of excuse making with this one. I mean, the Jets are a dumpster fire. The coaching has been abysmal. The supporting cast has been atrocious. They've just been a dysfunctional franchise in every way you can define a dysfunctional franchise. Like, we talk so much about situation and fit, and I just love how honest you were about the Patrick Mahomes situation. Like, if the Bills do take on Patrick Mahomes, like, what happens? He's so good it would have worked out. Okay. Like, I think we're in agreement there. Like, he's so good it would have worked out. But, like, he would have had to work through a Rick Dennison, David Culley, you know, tutelage through their I don't know, a quarterback's coach who never coached quarterbacks, an offensive coordinator with an archaic scheme, and, you know, the Zay Joneses of the world and the Deontay Thompsons and the Kelvin Benjamins. It wouldn't have been ideal. And you know, the Jets situation, it was worse than that. Way worse than that. I mean, I don't know. I think that he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good player. And in Carolina with Joe Brady, who obviously worked some magic with Joe Burrow at LSU, with 2 1,000-yard receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Christian McCaffrey just in 2019 was a 1,000 guy. And there's a lot to work with there. I think it's an exceptional move for Carolina, and it wasn't even their first choice. I mean, it's pretty obvious they wanted Deshaun Watson if all this didn't happen. And no doubt, as we've talked about, I mean, that kind of was the first domino here. It's his situation in San Francisco and Miami and Carolina just deciding to move on and not touch that situation. But yeah, love it for Carolina, and I don't know much about Zach Wilson. I mean, I see all the highlights that everybody else sees. It's fun. It's exciting. He got the snot beat out of him against Coastal Carolina. But he didn't really play many good teams, too, right? I mean, do you take that into account, the fact that he didn't do – I mean, it's not his fault of his own, but in this weird COVID season where you didn't really know who you're going to play week to week, he didn't play a lot of great teams. And I guess he was incredible, but you got to weigh that into your evaluation.
I think you have to just be careful to don't give him too much credit and don't be too hard on him as well, you know, on the competition, because study the throws that matter. Study the throws he's making that matter. And he does things that other guys really can't do, especially on the move. He's very natural. So that tells me that there is a ton of ability there. But the thing you can't predict is how is he going to handle, like we were talking about, what he's going to about to see. He hasn't seen this in the NFL, where Trevor Lawrence, he's played against Alabama, you know, he's played against Ohio State. He's seen, that's NFL. That's NFL quality coaching, defense. So those guys have seen it. Zach Wilson's going to have to at least, you know, it's going to be one of those things he's just going to have to get out there and play and figure it out quick. And all signs say he can do it when you watch him, but you still have to see it. And I think that's what, you know, the Jets obviously see everything else that everybody's seeing. I mean, the talent is just evident.
How strong is his arm?
Yeah, it's plenty good.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these guys, Trevor, Zach, Justin Fields, these guys all have really good arms. I mean, they really do. You know, if you're comparing them to, you know, you always think of Mahomes and Josh Allen with arm strength. Those two are on a different planet. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are on a different planet when it comes to arm strength. But these guys are all very talented.
Is there a singular trait, just before we kind of move on from Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
to like when you think of Zach Wilson, like what is that special trait that stands out and you say like, that's why we're going to take this guy second overall?
I liked his ability to make throws from different angles, arm angles, where I saw where he is able to maneuver in the pocket and make sidearm type deliveries on crossing routes that's not easy to do sometimes. He throws with touch. He has the arm strength to zip it when he needs to. I just thought he really did some things outside of the playbook that should translate to the NFL.
And if we've learned anything, I mean, that's the NFL today. You better be able to just kind of freelance your way around and go all over the place.
How many plays do we watch with Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes that they're running, Aaron Rodgers, that they're running around making plays? It's not the coaching. The coaches can only do so much, and plays break down. And what can these guys do once it breaks down? And I think that's what we're seeing is who can improvise, who can do this, and those guys have shown it.
Which, I mean, not to jump all over the place, Jim, but because I know you don't have this guy at number 3, but to go to the number 3 pick with San Francisco, all signs point to Mac Jones being Kyle Shanahan's guy, and the kind of quarterback that you're describing there is not Mac Jones. Mac Jones is incredibly accurate, efficient, ran that offense to a T. I mean, when Alabama's offense was humming, man, I mean, there's just no stopping it. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. It just seemed like it was simplified one-read stuff, where it was play is called, Mac Jones runs play, Mac Jones completes pass. That's the kind of quarterback Kyle Shanahan wants. I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan is that play caller that wants to be central to everything on the offensive side of the football. He, maybe doesn't necessarily want a quarterback improvising and going all over the place and relying on special traits. It's more so like I will put us in the perfect play for the perfect situation.
Yeah, I think coaches always want that first and foremost, that you will make the right read. You will get us out of a bad play. You will always deliver the ball on time. That's a no-brainer. I think it's important to distinguish between the quarterbacks who are playmakers and quarterbacks who are just limited. Mac Jones is right on that fence where he's not going to make plays on his own. He's not. Is he a complete stiff non-athlete? No, he's not. I mean, I know he's getting compared to Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Well, those guys they're just different. Mac Jones is limited movement-wise. He is. But there are plenty of quarterbacks. You don't have to be a special athlete to be a great mover in the pocket. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Stafford even. These guys, when you watch them maneuver in the pocket and dip away from pressure and be able to make those throws that they can make after they escape in the pocket, that's special. And those guys aren't making plays running, but like I said, they can do it still within the pocket. Mac Jones has to really prove that to me. Can he really make special plays inside the pocket when he's escaping, avoiding that first rusher? Can he reset and deliver with big time arm strength and accuracy down the field? I can't say I've really seen that. I've seen him throw to some special playmakers down the field, Waddle and Smith, that, I mean, I hate to say, but I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's throwing some just, you guys go get it and let's play defense. That's how that's how. Now, does he deliver the ball with accuracy and on time? Does he know the offense? Sure. That would still 17. I think he's played 17 games. Do I want to say that correctly? Yeah. Maybe I need to look that up. That might be Trey Lance as well. Like a 1 year really full starter at the position. Yeah. Cam Newton got crushed for that at Auburn where he played 1 year, but Cam was just so different because he was just hey, here he is, mold him. He can figure it out. Where this Mac Jones is going to be, he is going to be depending on how good Shanahan's offense is, how quickly he can pick things up, which all signs say he can. We've all watched the NFL. I always think about that Chiefs-Saints game this year when the Saints just pounded Mahomes, and it didn't faze him one bit. He still found ways to make plays. Can Mac Jones do that? Can he take a beating, and still make plays? that's something I think we'll have to see.
Fantastic breakdown. And,
I just can't. It's hard for me to just say, just because the Niners take him at 3, that he's just going to be a franchise guy. I mean, I think the tape you should at least see evidence on tape to back it up. And by taking a guy like Mac Jones at 3, you're basically saying he'll be fine in our offense. I don't care that he can't move or create. But ask any defensive coordinator, are you scared of a quarterback that can't run? Promise you what they're going to say is no. I know exactly where he's going to be. I'll take my chances.
That used to be a added bonus to quarterback play, right? Oh, he can run, he can improvise, he can maybe get a few yards when a play breaks down. Now it's almost prerequisite. You better have something to your game. You better have some of that juice, unless you're Tom Brady. Right.
And Brady, and those guys like Brady, I mean, you watch those, a lot of that stuff is still, he's still throwing the spots. They still have guys open. So it can be done, but you don't want to make a living off exceptions. And, we're talking about Brady. We're not talking, everybody else that we talk, Aaron Rodgers, these guys can move. It's Mahomes can move. Deshaun Watson can move. Josh Allen can move. And that's where the future, this is where it's headed right now. So it's hard for me to sit there and feel confident in a quarterback that can't create or at least scare a defense a little bit.
Plus, he had all that talent around him. I mean, you have to take that into consideration. I mean, both of those receivers could go in the top 10.
Running back, offensive line. I mean, everything is elite at the college level. They're all elite college football players.
Well, let's go right into the quarterback that you do like more than Mac Jones then, Jim. I mean, Justin Fields, and man, we all saw it, right, in that Clemson game. You want to talk about a guy that's getting the shit beat out of him and bouncing up. I thought it was a clean hit. I hated that guy got thrown out of the game. It was vicious. It was violent.
Agreed.
It was a good old school hit.
Yep.
And Fields, I mean, to stay in there and deliver the throws he did after that, I was sold right then and there.
When I watched that tape last week, I watched it, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm texting my friends. I'm like, this is nuts. I mean, he's making throws into coverage, down the field, accuracy, zip, decision-making, on time. I mean, I will say that, you watch his full slate of games, he does hold the ball a little bit. He does take some sacks that you would hate, that you would like to see, hey, just that wasn't needed. He didn't need to take that sack, get rid of the ball, or somehow come up with a way not to be a negative play. But Cam Newton was like that. Cam Newton, when some of these guys are so special athletically that they don't think there's such a thing as the play's over. Mm-hmm. They think they can get out of anything. And these guys really a lot of times can. We've seen it with Mahomes and Josh Allen. We've seen the plays where it's like, there's no way. How did they get rid of that? Well, Justin Fields has some of that in him. And to see him run that way, 230 pounds, and then his pro day runs a 4.4. Now, you don't draft a quarterback for that reason, but come on. As far as the physical skill set goes, I didn't see anything that he can't do. I just really admire him. I admired his toughness, how he left Georgia, and really wrong. He should have stayed. They should have picked him as their starter. And he leaves Georgia where he wanted to be, goes to Ohio State, takes them to, it's like, what evidence do you need? What else do you want to see from the guy? Like, he did everything you could ask a college quarterback to do.
I just wonder, are we missing something? Like, is there something out there on Justin Fields that isn't seeing the light of day? Because that happens with prospects. I don't know. It's just strange that that the talk around him is what it is right now. I know Dan Orlovsky just got killed for criticizing him, but he's not just pulling that out of nowhere. Like, he is talking to people. Like, that's coming from a place of knowledge. And I think obviously he backtracked, and the pitchforks came after him, and I totally disagreed with what I love Justin Fields too. But my point is, like, are we missing? Is there something else out there that we just don't know? Because it is strange. All these gifts, all the statistics, all the highlights. He checks every box. It seems
every box.
And
I think you're right, Tyler. I think. And this is the hard part, being on the outside now, not being on the inside, is where when you don't get to be in front of these guys and really dig down with the coaches and watch them break down their film and learn offenses and how do they, just how do they speak football. If you're not in on those meetings, it is hard to guess. So you see a guy like Fields who, okay, maybe the criticism is he holds the ball a little bit long. I noticed it. I thought he could get rid of some plays, but I don't think that's from a lack of not being able to read a defense. I just think sometimes he's trying to make more plays than he should. And that's how I look at it. But like I said, if you're not sitting down in front of these guys, it's hard to say. So maybe some of these teams do have concerns and we just don't know that. But the film tells you he can play.
You know what I love about Fields? It just seems like he plays in slow motion, but in a good way. Like he makes everybody kind of play at his speed. And it just,
I like that.
He's just kind of a smooth operator, in and out of the pocket, doing what he wants when he wants. Nothing's rushed, nothing's hurried, and maybe that, that slowness. People might think, all right, how does that translate when things are quicker in the NFL and decisions have to be, quicker? But I'm with you. To me, it's a strength. Like, that's kind of how we always come back to Mahomes. I know, but like. he has his own speed, and he can kind of speed it up. He can slow it down, and it's a rare kind of sixth sense that quarterbacks either have or don't have.
Fields plays hurt against Clemson, Alabama, and plays really incredible in both games. Alabama, he played really well. They lost. The Big Ten may have not played football this year if it wasn't for Justin Fields stepping up, and that's what you want. You're going to be the face. You want to be the face of an NFL franchise. You got to be willing to take it all on. And I think he was willing to go out on a limb and say, no, we want to play. Let's go. Gets it done. He's not afraid. I don't know this one has me confused. I don't know what they want, what else they want to see from Justin Fields.
I just wonder how far he slides now, too.
Oh.
I mean, Atlanta's kind of on the clock right now, and we'll see what they do. But, teams are kind of choosing their quarterback now.
So think about that if you're Atlanta. So if it goes, like we just said, Mac Jones goes 3, you have Matt Ryan for at least one, probably this year, maybe even another year. Matt Ryan is actually playing well enough where you can win. He is. He's not shot. Shot. Do I think he's certainly not going to get much better at this point, but he's not shot.
He's not shot?
No, he's not shot. He's close. He hasn't, that limp isn't too bad yet. Like Ben Roethlisberger and Breeze and those guys, to me, Phillip Rivers, they were shot. I don't see that with Matt Ryan yet. Their offense was pretty lethal this year. But that being said, you do need to plan for the future. Matt Ryan has maybe one more year before you need to think about it. So, God, I just don't know if you're Atlanta and Justin Fields is there. He's right in their backyard.
Right in the backyard. Wild stat on Matt Ryan, just pulling it up here. 10 seasons in a row of 4,000 yards. I know it's not the accomplishment that it used to. That's still, remarkable.
He's still
10 years in a row of throwing over 4,000 yards. And you're right. Last season, he 407 completions. 626 attempts, but that's still 65%. He was remarkable. 26 touchdowns, 11 picks, 93.3 rating at the age of 35. I know they went 4-12, but you can't really put it on him.
Where you get in trouble with Matt Ryan at this point, and he's never been a mover, but he is very, very limited right now as far as movement. And I did notice this year as far as, he did try to make some plays, just getting rid of the ball because of the pressure and maybe he was forcing some things, but I'm telling you, he is a top 12, 13 type quarterback right now, based on this past year. And I think he has that in him for one more. But if this is the hard part for Atlanta. You got a new GM, new head coach. You got to start. And if you believe in somebody, whether it's Fields or Trey, whoever you believe in, if you think he's going to take you to that next level, you got to take a quarterback at 4 if you believe in that guy. You don't have to force it, though.
Got it. I mean, this is what makes football fun. I mean, these decisions.
This is
for
a
these
good
teams,
one. This draft is a fun one. This is a fun one.
I mean, there's so much on the line for these teams making these decisions, and
everything.
And it's so easy to sit here now and to just drool over every one of these guys and say, "Oh, they're all unbelievable. They'll all turn your friend." No, like you said, history suggests otherwise. History suggests there's going to be some busts, and you're either going to like hit the bullseye and everybody keeps their jobs and everybody makes millions of dollars and life is good, or everybody's out of a job. And it's all based on this decision at quarterback. It really is.
It's it, and that's why I want to come. I just want to make sure that we're doing a good job. Like, I don't want to be that guy that just says, "Oh, he's special, he's great."
Right.
It's not that easy. Like, there's a lot that goes into a quarterback becoming. I mean, Deshaun Watson and Mahomes weren't finished products coming out of college. They weren't, and they developed, and their staff did a great job with them, and they had great players around them. I mean, let's think about it. Deshaun Watson had some great players in Houston, before they got rid of him. But, Mahomes, loaded team. So it takes a lot. Like, and that's why we were kind of defending Sam Darnold, where he went to an opposite situation, So, and I look at what the Bills did with Josh Allen. They've really done a nice job surrounding him with talent. So I just feel like a lot more goes into it than just the guy. But to sit there and not at least bring up some concerns that you have with guys have flaws. It's okay to talk about it. I just don't think it's okay to talk about what the concerns are.
No doubt. Totally agree. Man, next quarterback, hit me. Trey Lance, right?
So this guy, all right, so Trey Lance. This was hard. I only was able to watch 2 games on him. I have tape on all the other players, like the college tape. But I was only able to see 2 games of Trey Lance, kind of on YouTube. I watched them. So it was the best I could find. And I did last year's national championship game that he played in against James Madison. And then this year he played 1 game only, Central Arkansas. And to be honest, he was terrible. Okay, so he was awful in that game. So, I go back and watch his James Madison game. Well, they're not running an NFL offense. I can promise you that. He's not making a lot of NFL throws. What he does do is he's got a cannon of an arm. He throws the deep ball beautifully. But that's really the only types of throws I saw him making, other than he's keeping the ball and running. And I saw him miss a lot of NFL throws where I thought those are throws you should be making. You should be completing these throws, where he's missing guys on the run. I think he's more of a straight line athlete, where he is a strong runner. He runs through tackles. He has good speed. He's not special with it, but it's good for a quarterback. It's very good. But he's not a special make you miss type athlete. So he's going to run through you, but the history of that in the NFL says buyer beware. You don't want to be taking hits. You're going to lose that battle. So I feel like with Trey Lance, you are basically drafting him and saying the future, the sky is the limit. We are going to develop this guy. You are taking on a huge developmental project, in my opinion. And do you have the guts to do that in the top 5 of a draft? A guy that's played at North Dakota State. Carson Wentz, obviously, we spent a lot of time with Carson Wentz, but I saw him making NFL throws. I saw him delivering the ball on time with accuracy, intermediate to deep balls, not just the long ball. And I just haven't seen enough of that from Trey Lance to sit there and say, what are you seeing in him that says he's going to be the guy? Now, if you can take him and I think, I shouldn't say definitely, because I always say that he should sit a year, but watch, he'll come in and play and be rookie of the year. But to me, once again, there's nothing on tape to back up you drafting him with the 3rd or 4th pick to be the face of your franchise. I don't see it with him like that. Now, I'm not saying he can't develop it, because you do see the tools, but even when I watched his pro day, he missed some of those kind of deep crossing routes, deep ball throws and I don't really care about that, and I don't care about pro days, but it was just, I'm looking for more evidence. I'm just looking for more to feel good about him. I love his toughness. Obviously, the guy's been, doesn't turn the ball over. They win. So there's a lot of good qualities with Trey Lance. I just would need to see more to say he's our guy moving forward.
Man, that's so true. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I don't want to come across like I'm just crushing him, because I'm not. There's obviously ability, but I really believe you need to dig down on these guys and find who's making the real throws in coverage, and spotting the ball, because that's what you have to do in the NFL.
So the one game that he did play was a 39-28 win over Central Arkansas. Trey Lance completed 15 of 30 passes for 149, 2 touchdowns with an interception. It's 5 yards per attempt. Now, he did run the ball 15 times for 143 with 2 scores. Yep. So, when you see that, it's always tough to figure out, like, all right, when this college quarterback is putting up great rushing numbers, like, how is he doing it, and how is that going to translate? So you're not seeing like the make you miss kind of stuff. It's more straight line,
right,
trying to bowl people over.
Exactly, and that worries me. Where because you can't take a franchise quarterback hoping he's not. Cam Newton, was 6'6", 250 pounds,
right?
And Cam had a little more wiggle, a little more like slither to him in traffic, where he didn't always take hard shots. And he started to as he slowed down a little bit, and then it just wore, his body got worn out. I don't see Trey Lance making guys miss. So that tells me, okay, he's running away from guys. You're not going to run away from guys in the NFL. You're not going to run over guys in the NFL. I just don't believe in that. That's not why I'm drafting a franchise quarterback. So I just feel like I didn't see enough on tape to give me that confidence. And like I said, I only did those 2 games, and it was so, I don't want to sit there and use that as an excuse, but I would have concerns taking him that high.
Well, it is kind of strange. I mean, it's a unique case that you're trying to make a decision on a quarterback who played 1 game last year. I mean, he hasn't played meaningful game he hasn't gotten live game reps much at all since 2019, and he was great in 2019. But like, that's got to be a concern.
So Tyler, think about if I came to you with, the 2 resumes. Okay, you never watched either guy play, right? That's always a fun game to do. But I give you Justin Fields' resume, okay, at Ohio State, and I give you Trey Lance at North Dakota State. Now, what do you think Justin Fields? How do you think he would play against Central Arkansas? Would it be 15 for 30 and an interception? Because I saw Justin Fields play against Clemson and Alabama and play a lot better than that. So I guess what I'm saying is, how does this get, and this is the hard part of evaluating these guys, but how is there any debate between Justin Fields and Trey Lance? How?
Because I guess he threw 28 touchdowns with no picks in 2019. I get it. It's against
it's
Youngstown State and Missouri State. And
look at the highlights and watch his YouTube highlights sometimes. You're going to just see deep balls of guys wide open, running wide open downfield. And he dropped it on him. He's a good arm, but I mean, that's like maybe, you might get that 10 times a year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Now, the one high-end comparison that you hear for Trey Lance is a quarterback that you were around early in your scouting career, Donovan McNabb, the way he's built, the way he kind of moves around a little bit. Any glimmers of Donovan McNabb and Trey Lance?
I heard that one too, and it's the build. They look very similar. Their build, they're strong, big arms, kind of a longer release a little bit. They both have that. So I do see where the comparisons are there. It's just Donovan was a special playmaker with the ball in his hands, a little more than Trey is. Trey Lance might throw the deep ball. Donovan threw the deep ball pretty well, so I shouldn't say that. But he does. Trey Lance does do some good things. But McNabb he did so many things to escape pressure, but not running the ball, but then making throws after he escaped, and making incredible throws when he's torquing his body and delivering things where that's not easy to do. And who I thought Trey Lance looked like to me more coming out of college was Colin Kaepernick. Wow. And I think when I say that, Kaepernick was faster. they were both kind of straight line athletes, though, where Kaepernick wasn't a big make-you-miss guy. He could just run. And Kaepernick had a little funky delivery, a little different than what you used to seeing. Big arm, could whip it. But that he reminds me a little more of Kaepernick than McNabb.
I like that. I haven't really even thought of that. So is there a fit for these guys? Like, what fits? What situations? So we know, Lawrence is going to go to Jacksonville. Wilson will go to New York. Mac Jones, barring a surprise, is going to San Francisco. So Fields, Lance, where would you like to see them go? I mean, where could they succeed?
Atlanta. I mean, I'd love to see Fields in Atlanta. Yeah. Trey Lance, that's a good question, to see where he could develop and not be pressured to play year one or year two. That would be the type of team I would look for him, where can he sit for a year or two? Yeah. And I really believe that. And nobody wants a guy to sit for 2 years, right? You can live with 1 year. So I think you have to probably be realistic and say, where could he go for 1 year, sit, learn, and then take over the team? That would be, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of teams that might be, trying to think who's picking. The problem is the team's picking high. They need these guys to play. They don't necessarily have a year to sit. And so that's the hard part for Trey Lance. I mean, if he comes in, if Atlanta takes him, maybe that is a good situation in Atlanta for him where he can sit behind Matt Ryan and develop if they feel that conviction on Trey Lance developing.
I like that a lot. I mean, that seems like a perfect spot.
It could be.
So I solicited some questions here.
Oh, yeah,
Twitter.
let's go. Yeah, I saw that.
I figured that could be a good spot. Unless you want to hit on anything else with.
Those are the main guys.
Those are the five. Is there anybody else worth mentioning? Kellen Mond.
Mond, I hadn't studied enough. It didn't jump out at me.
Yeah.
Trask, I watched from Florida, looked like a good backup to me in the NFL type quarterback, where he can deliver the ball a little bit, but pocket guy. Didn't seem like a big time playmaker to me. I know, but I didn't study all of them. Those were the guys I kind of concentrated on because that's what everybody's talking about.
Gotcha. All right. Well, loyal go along subscriber Ryan Mura, who's just a great dude, hilarious on Twitter, even better, quote unquote in person on our Zoom happy hours. I love this question a lot. I mean, and I wanted to ask you this earlier too on this episode. He asks, Jim, I'd love to hear you talk about the process of scouting QB prospects on film. So yeah, I wanted to ask you that too, like how you get film, how you break it down, how long it takes, all of that. And then on top of that, he asks, what traits, skills do you look for? How important is footwork? When you see a bad throw or play, can it scare you away from a prospect?
Bad throw or play, no. If you see it, multiple times coming up in different games, if you see the same type of, how did he not, he did that last game, how did he not see that? That would be concerning. But everybody has, LeBron James has bad games. Everybody has bad games, bad plays. So don't get too upset with that. What you really need to do, I think, when you evaluate any player, especially quarterback, but find the plays that matter, like we were talking about. Footwork, yes, huge. How's he resetting in the pocket? Mm-hmm. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, watch their footwork. It's really almost, you won't find guys that do it better than Brees and Brady. The way they can maneuver in the pocket, reset their feet, and torque their bodies and make big throws. You want to see that type of thing. Evaluate the throws that are NFL throws. Look for the guys that are zipping the ball into coverage, not forcing it, but getting it there, which means they delivered it with anticipation, accuracy. They're not giving away where they're going with the ball. They're not throwing a lot of interceptions. I just think those are the things you really have to look for, because otherwise it's hard. If you're, like you said, if you're just going off stats, Trey Lance should be the first pick of the draft,
Yeah. How are you watching film though? Like, how are you getting full game film beyond YouTube with those other guys? And I
don't want to give out my.
Yeah, that's true. Don't give out
my guy, but he was a guy that was a guest on our Go Long podcast. Was able to hook me up with with some tape this year, and was very thankful to him. So
that's awesome.
But I love it. But I am lucky enough to have a guy like him help me out, and I was able to see last year's and this year's tape. It's pretty cool.
Which, it should be noted, how fresh and original and important that is, because it only gets worse every year, the groupthink and the YouTube think and everybody watching the same highlight reels and coming to the same conclusions, and everybody's great, everybody's phenomenal, and did you see that throw, did you see this throw? You don't get the full picture. I mean, you're getting the full picture watching every snap, and it's I don't know. I mean, it's these are the times we live in, I guess, when the draft season is year round, and everybody can just pull up a YouTube clip, but like you got to dig a little deeper to really, really understand what makes these quarterbacks tick and what their pros and cons are.
And it matters. It does matter what teams they go to. I mean, we've talked about that. It does. It plays a part.
Totally.
In it. And who's the staff? And is the staff, are they a veteran staff? Like it shocks me that the New Orleans Saints have not been able to draft a quarterback, knowing for the last, however, you knew you have to get one eventually. You knew Breeze. Just, I give the Patriots some credit for taking Garoppolo like they did that year, because they took him thinking this was going to be Tom's replacement in a couple years. Like, they really thought he was on the downslide or he was going to, whenever it was time, and they had their guy. And, man, the Saints haven't done that. But I guess what I'm saying is I'd love to see the Saints. I would love to see. Well, I guess we might see it with Jameis Winston this year. But what can this staff, this veteran coaching staff, do with a good offensive line, a really good offensive line? What can they do with a young quarterback? I'd like to see that.
Lauren Cox, great dude, does some great work himself. He asks, who is the Leroy Brown of this draft class? So when I put this out, I obviously had to throw in a Jim Croce reference. So,
I like that.
We'll welcome all Croce questions. It's a Croce-friendly podcast. Who's the baddest man in the whole damn draft?
Well, it's hard for me not to say that this Kyle Pitts from Florida, this tight end, is going to be – he's just going to be a nightmare for every defensive coordinator. And I didn't study enough defensive players, because when I think of bad men, I think of Khalil Mack, our boy from Tampa this year, the linebacker that we love from LSU.
Devin White, yep.
Devin White, I'm sorry, I was drawing a blank. But those are bad men where, Kyle Pitts is a bad man because you can't cover him. And I don't know how you match up with him. I don't know what teams are going to try to do with him, but he is nasty. He breaks off routes and just leaves guys. I mean, his hand, he just snatches the ball. His catching radius is huge. He runs away from people. He can out jump you. I mean, you're good luck. Like, seriously, good luck trying to match up with him. So
I like it.
That would be my pick.
I like it. I don't know if he's the bad. Sorry, go ahead.
God, the only other guy I was going to say that I watched on offense, that Jamar Chase from LSU, bad man.
I'll throw a sleeper of a bad man at you. How about Jarrett Patterson? Right there at UB, the running back, baby. 5'6". All he did was, run for 300 yards against Bowling Green a couple times, and not very tall, but man, he's a brick shit house, and he can move.
You know what? Tyler? Let me study him a little bit. That'd be a good one for us to get into. I don't like talking about guys I haven't looked at too hard. Yeah. I wouldn't mind studying. Maybe that would be a good let me look at him a little bit just to get a feel for, especially for the Buffalo crowd, and see where he stacks up.
A teaser of sorts. I had a nice conversation with Jarrett last week. So
and that's where that's headed then.
We'll have a story up.
Where's he from?
He's from the DC area.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Let me just get you the exact details if this is working. Yeah, Maryland, Glendale, Maryland.
Yep.
Cool. He's friends with Chase Young, actually. But yeah, obviously humble, soft-spoken, ultra confident. I mean, this is somebody who dominated in high school, dominated in college. He just hasn't, he didn't get the offers, isn't getting the attention because of his size, obviously. There aren't a lot of 5'6" guys, in the NFL, but like the numbers are what they are. So, that should be up at Go Long. I want to say next week we'll have that story up. I think we got a couple more questions. I'm
going to make sure so I'll follow you up on that so we can have some good discussion on him.
Let's do it. think we had a couple more before I forget. You kind of did answer this. Mark David, great follow, great loyal podcast listener. He asks, Jim Monis has always said he loves a good gamble. That's true. Outside of Trevor Lawrence, which quarterback from the class of 2021 would you bet everything you own to be a bona fide all-pro franchise quarterback?
So, number one rule in gambling is don't ever bet everything you own. That's first rule. So I will never bet everything. Well, yeah, that I'm just going to say that Gonzaga game didn't make me happy the other night. I feel like my whole life I hear about Gonzaga. Every year they're predicted to make the Final Four and win a title, and I got caught up in the Gonzaga mess this year, and they broke my heart the other night. But okay, I wouldn't bet everything I own, but I would have a tough time after Trevor Lawrence passing on Justin Fields at quarterback. There's nothing that's showing me that he's not going to be let alone you're just getting a tough, like you're going to get everything he's got. And I've seen everything he's got. I mean, I saw it against Clemson. I saw it against Alabama. I saw it for 2 years. Northwestern, Indiana, those weren't some of his best games this year. Look up where those teams ranked on defense. Northwestern and Indiana were top 10 defenses in college football. So he's going against, I guess that's kind of my point, is he's played against the best of the best.
Right.
And has succeeded, where I don't see that with the other guys all the time. So, for me, I'd roll the dice on Justin Fields. Or are we just talking quarterback?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'd roll the dice on Justin Fields.
He wasn't even really that bad in that Northwestern game, from what I remember. I
counted like 2 plays where I was like, all right, he might have forced 2 balls, which you could find a quarterback that does that every game.
Yeah.
So I just have a tough time. This stuff on Justin Fields, I don't know. I just think that would be my gamble, and I've lost gambles before. So
was it a tough loss to take on Gonzaga?
Yeah, that one hurt a little bit, gut punch. But hey, you gotta get back on the horse. We got Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Gotta go.
Doing a little shoulder shimmy. I like it.
Whew.
Oh man, well that's a good spot, Jim. I mean, that was
cheers,
one
Tyler.
hell of a
good,
breakdown. I mean, you can't get that anywhere else, man. Jim is just. I mean, you've got a sharp eye for this stuff. It's fresh, it's different, and is unbelievably appreciated. So thank you for doing that for the listeners here, Jim.
It's fun. This is going to be a fun. I know Bills fans are probably this AFC now. The AFC East is just wild. I mean, it's fun to see. I think Josh Allen's by far the best in the division, right? And
what the hell is New England going to do?
What the hell is New England going to do? Is Tua going to be any better? Is Zach Wilson the answer? So if you're the Bills right now, you are just, your chest is out and you're picking 30th and take the best player and just keep smiling.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back at it on the Go Long podcast and the happy hours and the stories, all that right in your inbox. Actually going to be taking a bye week on the Zoom happy hour this week, but we've got some great guests lined up for after this week, so I hope everybody can check it out. Jim, thank you.
Cheers, Tyler.